Roger Marshall, Republican out of Kansas. Welcome, gentlemen, to our program here. Senator, when are you going to be able to say that U.S. taxpayer dollars were used in the Wuhan lab?
Yeah. Well, Bill, I think, first of all, we need to remember why this is so important. We need to find out the origins of COVID so it doesn't happen again, so we honor the million Americans who lost their lives and get some closure for their family, 15 million Americans with long COVID. So to answer your question, look, there is a lengthy amount of evidence that suggests, that really proves that this virus was made there in a lab in Wuhan, China. We're going to talk about that today and expect to try to get, somehow we need to get to a 9/11 style commission. Get this out of the bright lights and cameras of D.C. and take it to someplace like Kansas City and investigate it further. So I think today we're going to be talking to experts, and most of them are going to be talking about why this virus was made in Wuhan, and actually that we funded bits and pieces of this viral gain-of-function research.
So last night on Rachel Maddow, Anthony Fauci was on again. He is promoting another book about his leadership during COVID. And here's a little bit of what he had to say in that interview. Let's watch.
The epidemiological evidence by most qualified virologists strongly favor, though not definitively, strongly favor that it is a natural occurrence. But since it isn't definitive, I keep an open mind. What they say that's incorrect is that the NIH funded a grant in China, an indirect grant, funded a firm in New York that did a sub-award to do some surveillance studies on what is out there. This attack that you funded a project that turned into COVID is completely preposterous.
Okay, there's a lot there. Jamie Metzel, can you sort of piece by piece go through that and let us know what you think about what Dr. Fauci told America last night?
Sure. First, it's really my honor and pleasure to be here with you and with Senator Marshall. Senator Marshall and I have been working on this topic together for over 3 years. He's a Republican, I'm a Democrat, but this is the ultimate national issue. It has to be a bipartisan, nonpartisan issue. Dr. Fauci, I think, was wrong in two regards. The first is that about the epidemiological evidence about the origins of the pandemic. The vast majority, as Senator Marshall said, of the available evidence leans toward a research-related incident origin in Wuhan, a lab accident, even though there are a few scientists who believe otherwise. And that's why, as Senator Marshall said, we just need to get to the bottom of this. In terms of the United States funding, it's technically correct that U.S. funding didn't go directly, specifically into gain-of-function research by the letter of those grants, which could have led to COVID-19. But we gave funding to a lab and multiple labs in Wuhan where we had no idea what viruses were being held, what work was being done, and who was doing that work. So we really need to get to the bottom of what happened here, both with the actions of the United States government and, more importantly, with the Chinese government, because the Chinese government bears primary responsibility for COVID-19.
No doubt about that. Yes, Senator, let me just come back to this. Fauci called it preposterous. Preposterous, all right? Are we going to dance around words again today during this hearing that begins in less than an hour? We're going to get some answers here. And finally, the thing that Fauci said that is right is how we can do better next time. But when you're dealing with the Chinese Communist Party, how can you?
Yeah, Bill, that's a great point, is that Americans we always assume the best of people, but whenever you're funding research in Wuhan, China, anywhere in China, you have to realize that the military is intimately involved with this one way or the other. And, you know, for all we know, they're developing bioweapons. You know, we don't know that. But the epidemiology actually points that this came from a laboratory in Wuhan. The epidemiology tells us that this virus had spread all over the country, all over different continents before their major market breakout there in Wuhan. Everything about this virus points that it was man-made. We paid for the research to develop a protein spike that was eventually used to make the protein spike for SARS-CoV-2 and insert a furin cleavage site. So we were indirectly involved in lots of this research. We taught China how to do it. We gave them the mice to study. That's why this is a national security issue. We need to stop doing research with our enemies. It just doesn't come out good for us.
No. Yeah, well, we have since learned that the FBI and the Energy Department declared that this was most likely from a natural source based on intelligence that they had that was not shared with the rest of us. So, gentlemen, good luck today. Thank you very much. It's great to have you both with us.
We'll be watching. Thank you, man.